Lamine Yamal, the best young player of all time? UEFA Champions League, La Liga, Euro Cup. They are the stages where great footballers showcase their skills to the world and battle the pressure of representing their clubs or countries. Well, did you know that the record for being the youngest player to provide an assist in the Champions League knockout stage, the youngest player to score a goal in the Euro Cup, the youngest player to win it all as well, and the youngest player to score in a Clasico all belong to the same person? Yes, and that person is Lamine Yamal, but you can also call him the best young player in the world. With all this on the table, it's easy to think that what Lamine Yamal is doing is unprecedented in the history of football and that it represents the best version ever shown by a player under 18 years old. Therefore, it's natural to draw comparisons between Lamine and other historical or current players when they were the same age. And that's exactly what we're doing today. But first, a brief overview of Lamine Yamal's current form to understand the magnitude of the player we're talking about. The young star of FC Barcelona and world football is the talk of all football fans due to the skill level and impact he's shown at such a young age. At just 17 years old, the Barca star has become the most influential and crucial player for his team, making his absence profoundly felt and making Barcelona look like a completely different team when he's not on the pitch. This was especially evident between November and December. We all remember the impressive start to the season Barcelona had, dominating every match and showing a superlative level far above other European teams. However, in the last 2 months of the year, Barcelona experienced a significant drop in form compared to previous months, losing several matches and dropping to third place in La Liga. And do you know what's most curious about all this? During that period, Lamine Yamal missed several matches due to recurring injuries and the team clearly suffered without their top star. It's incredible how Lamine Yamal has managed to stand out above his teammates like Rafinha, Pedri and Gavi, players with much more experience, or even above Robert Lewandowski, one of the most legendary goal scorers in football and one of the most important players of the past decade. This season had been a breakout one for the Spanish player of Moroccan origin, especially because of his performance in the 2 Clásicos played so far. In both, he demonstrated that he's a unique player, scoring a goal in each match and leaving Real Madrid's defenders helpless. And he doesn't just shine as a star in Hansi Flick's team. He's also a key player of his national team, playing a crucial role in Spain's 2024 Euro Cup victory. With all this in mind, we can now dive into comparisons. Until last year, Lamine was often compared to several players his age since they were contemporaries. Players like Endrick, Arda Güler, and Kobe Manu were considered his main competitions for some time, but in just a few months, thanks to Lamine's excellent performances at the end of the last season and the start of the current one, the young Spaniard had managed to set himself apart from the players mentioned earlier. Nowadays, he's no longer compared to players his age, but directly with the best players in the world. So yes, in a very short time, Lamine Yamal has gone from being compared to Endrick, Manu and Güler to being compared to Vinicius, Mbappe and Mohamed Salah. This shift helps us understand the generational talent that the Blaugrana gem presents. Therefore, if we want to understand Lamine Yamal's potential, we must compare him to the greatest players of all time. Let's start with his biggest idols and role models in his style of play, Lionel Messi and Neymar Jr. It's no secret that Lamine Yamal's game is heavily influenced by Messi. They share many qualities. Both are products of La Masia, both are left-footed, both debuted for the first time before turning 18, and both had to meet enormous expectations placed upon them from the first day of their debut. And on top of all that, Messi literally baptized Lamine when he was just a baby. Yes, I know that sounds very strange, but it's true. All this makes it seem inevitable that Lamine Yamal is destined to be the new Messi, as if, in some way, Lionel transferred his powers to him 17 years ago. So, it's time to compare these two players. So far, Lamine Yamal has played 92 professional matches, scoring 19 goals and providing 30 assists. Meanwhile, Messi, at the same age, had only played 9 First Division appearances and scored just 1 goal. It wasn't until the following season at age 18 that Lionel Messi began to show his potential, playing 25 matches and scoring 8 goals. As you can see, even though Messi was older, his numbers at a similar age don't even come close to those of Lamine Yamal. On the other hand, we have Neymar Jr. This is a very curious case because despite all the similarities between Messi and Yamal, personally, I see more resemblance between Lamine and Neymar. To begin with, it's well known that Lamine Yamal's favorite player and ultimate idol is Neymar Jr. He said so himself in several interviews, and it's evident on the field when he imitates some of Neymar's celebrations and even hairstyles. Additionally, Lamine's personality is much more similar to Neymar's than Messi's. Lionel always displayed a very humble and calm demeanor, avoiding the spotlight and focusing solely on excelling on the pitch. Neymar, on the other hand, has always acted like a superstar, with extravagant hairstyles and a flair for showmanship, just like a certain player today. Moreover, Neymar and Lamine are not only similar off the pitch but also in their playing styles. While Messi's game was based on leaving opponents behind with his dribbling and speed, Neymar has always been a much flashier player who loved to humiliate opponents with his incredible tricks and extravagant moves, making him a joy to watch. Therefore, analyzing their playing styles, I see greater similarities between Lamine and Neymar than between Lamine and Messi. But now, speaking of numbers, who was better before turning 18? Lamine or Neymar? Well, before turning 18, Neymar had played 53 matches, scoring 19 goals and providing 11 assists. These numbers are very good, especially considering the relatively small number of matches he played compared to Lamine, who had already played almost double that. However, despite being impressive, it's worth noting that Neymar achieved these numbers while playing in Brazil, which might carry less weight since it's a lower level league. Even so, the comparison between Neymar and Lamine at the same age is quite close, and deciding who's better comes down to personal preference. Now, let's move on to one of the best players in the world today, Kylian Mbappe. However, instead of comparing Lamine to the current Mbappe, we'll compare him to a 17-year-old Mbappe. At 17, Kylian had played 30 First Division matches, scoring 7 goals and providing 8 assists. These are impressive numbers for a debutant, but fall short of Lamine Yamal's statistics. The last player we'll bring into this conversation is one of the greatest players in history, if not the greatest for many. I'm talking about Edson Arantes do Nascimento, better known as Ore Pelé. Before turning 18, the legendary Brazilian player played only 9 matches, in which he scored 11 goals and provided 4 assists. These numbers are simply outstanding, as he's the only player we've discussed who scored more goals than matches before turning 18. However, the most impressive aspect isn't just his stats, but the importance of the goals he scored. 6 of those goals and 2 assists came during the 1958 World Cup, including a brace in the final. This is an unprecedented feat that no one has been able to replicate to this day. Therefore, of all the players we've reviewed, the only one we can consider better than Lamine Yamal before turning 18 is Pelé. Despite having played very few matches, he made his mark in the most important tournament in football and led his national team to win their first World Cup, being the undisputed star of that historic Brazilian squad. After making all these comparisons, one thing is clear: Lamine Yamal is an exceptional player and a generational talent. The mere fact that he's being compared to the best current players and the greatest players in history is impressive. It shows that if he continues his current trajectory, Lamine Yamal is on his way to becoming one of the greatest players of all time. He still has many years ahead of him and much to prove, despite already achieving significant milestones in such a short time. And yes, maybe the expectations placed on Lamine are incredibly high, but that's the reality of being a global superstar while being a teenager. Without much else to add, all that's left is to wait and watch how Barcelona's gem grows and whether in a few years he becomes what we all expect: the best player in the world. That's all for now, guys. Don't forget to like the video and see you next time.